On the 15th of December 1968, Dan Jensen, an Anglican church minister at St. Augustine's Church, and his wife Robin became parents to a daughter, whom they named Kirsa Mary Jensen. The Jensen parents also shared a son named Michael and resided in Napier, New Zealand. In 1983, 14-year-old Kirsa attended Colenso High School, where she was well liked amongst her peers. Kirsa was, according to her mother, a serious and dedicated child who adored animals and dreamt of being a vet and riding for the New Zealand equestrian team. Her mother, Robin Jensen, is quoted as saying, "When I think of her, I think curls and bubbles and laughter and responsibility. Generous and kind and putting others first, but so dedicated to what she wanted to do. She would have done anything for an animal." During mid-1983, Kirsa spent most of her time volunteering at a local vet clinic and training her horse, Commodore, for the upcoming Hawke's Bay Royal A&P show during the school holidays. On the 1st of September 1983, the first day of spring, Kirsa had planned to go horse riding with her friend after a long drought of rain finally bared some sunshine. However, her friend cancelled their plans. Despite this, Kirsa was still keen to take Commodore for a ride along Awatoto Beach. She got Commodore saddled up in the paddock by the family home on Riverbend Road and said goodbye to her mother, Robin, at around 2:45 p.m. Unbeknownst to Robin at the time, this would be the last time she would ever see her daughter. Robin became extremely anxious when her daughter didn't return home at the set time of 5 p.m. Kirsa was never late, and just 45 minutes later at 5:30 p.m, after family and friends searched with no sign of Kirsa, Robin called the police. She knew in her gut something had happened to her daughter. A short while after the police were called, the Jensen family were informed that a horse had been found loose near a bridge in Awatoto, about 7 kilometres from the vicarage. It was Commodore, but he was alone. 14-year-old Kirsa was nowhere to be found. The only pieces of evidence found was the rope in which Commodore was tied to the gun emplacement. It did not belong to the Jensens, and some blood which was later confirmed to have belonged to Kirsa. Though her horse was located, searches continued to be carried out by police and volunteers over the following days, including through the local river and other waterways. However, they failed to turn up any signs of the missing girl. On the 6th of September, a $5,000 reward was offered by a Napier newspaper for any information leading to the whereabouts of Kirsa. Various psychic mediums and clairvoyants sought to assist police, but much to their dismay, police found their efforts as unhelpful. Police initially believed that Kirsa had fallen from her horse as they found parts of a bridle and hoof prints on the beach near a gun emplacement next to the Tutukuri River. However, as the case progressed, police believed that something more sinister may have happened to the teenager. A very significant statement was made to police by a passer-by who noticed a girl fitting Kirsa's description by the gun emplacement at around 4 p.m. on the day she vanished, being held at arm's length by who the witness described as a European man, around 6 feet tall and between 45 to 50 years old. The same witness also noted a white utility vehicle with brown sides, which was parked within close proximity. Another witness told police that they stopped and talked to Kirsa at the gun emplacement, at which time the witness noticed blood on Kirsa's face. She allegedly told the man that she had fallen from her horse and that someone had gone to collect her parents. Kirsa told him that she expected them to arrive shortly, but of course, this did not occur. 2 surfers reportedly saw Kirsa on the beach leading a horse at around 4:20 p.m. Another witness came forward to authorities and claimed that at around 4:30 p.m, he had driven past a white ute driving along the bridge. The driver was described by this individual as a brown-haired Caucasian male, between 20 to 30 years old. His arm was around the passenger's shoulders and he was driving using one hand. The witness believed the passenger was a young girl, possibly a teen. Kirsa's horse, Commodore, was seen by several witnesses after this tied to the gun emplacement, evidently agitated, but Kirsa was never seen again. Over 800 utility vehicles were investigated by authorities, but despite their efforts, the ute in question has never been identified. The prime suspect in Kirsa's disappearance was an orchard worker named John Russell, who already had a conviction for rape. He told police that he was the male individual who was seen with Kirsa at the gun emplacement, though he reportedly had seen Kirsa speaking to another man who was bald and middle-aged. The police investigated Russell's home and utility vehicle, but no evidence was found that Kirsa had ever been there. In 1985, John Russell confessed to Kirsa's murder, but he later retracted his confession. Due to no substantial evidence linking him to Kirsa's disappearance, no charges were ever laid against him. Interestingly, the rope used to tie up Commodore was analysed using new forensic techniques, and after analysing the fibres, spores, minerals and pollens, it became apparent that the rope contained copper sulfate from an orchard spray and some green sand, which matched samples taken from Russell's home. 2 blonde hairs were found in Russell's ute, which were compared to Kirsa's hair found on her hairbrush, which returned a strong statistical match, but even with this evidence, it wasn't enough to prove that Russell harmed Kirsa in any way. John did confess that the rope did belong to him. Oddly, Russell showed up at the church where Dan Jensen worked, and even randomly turned up at the Jensens' front door, but he never admitted any wrongdoing. Interestingly, he had previous convictions for abductions alongside 3 other men in 1970. In 1992, John Russell took his own life in a Hastings guest house after going to Lake Alice Hospital psychiatric facility after being seriously injured in a car accident. No suicide note was left, but he allegedly began to question himself whether he had killed Kirsa and had forgotten due to forensic amnesia. Police believe that Russell was most likely not involved in Kirsa's disappearance, simply due to lack of evidence, but he remains a person of interest. In 1999, a man from Melbourne, Australia, confessed to police that he had murdered Kirsa, but police once again could not find any evidence to indicate that this male individual was involved. In 2012, workmen in Napier discovered human bones, and it was initially believed that the remains could have belonged to Kirsa, but DNA proved the bones did not belong to the missing teen. As DNA technologies continue to advance, investigators hope that they can progress further into finding out what happened to Kirsa Jensen. A memorial plaque was erected and a Pahutakawa tree was planted at the site of Jensen's disappearance by the local community. St. Augustine's Church in Napier, where Jensen's father, Dan, was a minister at the time of her disappearance, has a chapel dedicated to the missing teen. Kirsa's mother, Robin, was a guidance counsellor at a local school, and following her daughter's disappearance, she wanted to help other parents of murdered children through their grief. She undertook a pioneering study for her master's degree in 2003 titled The Grief Experiences of Parents Who Have Lost a Child Through Violent Crime, exploring various areas of victim support. A trust fund scholarship was also established in Kirsa's name at Massey University for 3rd, 4th and 5th year students studying a bachelor's degree in veterinary science, something Kirsa wanted to achieve herself in the veterinary field. The most likely theory in this case is that Kirsa met with foul play, that she was attacked and kidnapped by the gun emplacement, a theory which Robin Jensen herself believes. People don't just disappear in broad daylight without a trace. Robin has kept Kirsa's old riding jacket, which still has her old pins from the Whakatane and Hawke's Bay hunt clubs on it. Robin says that if Kirsa is ever found, she'll be buried with it. Despite the time that has passed since her daughter disappeared, Robin, who is now in her 70s, continues to hope that one day her beloved daughter will return home. Until the day I die, I'll keep hoping. I'll never give up hope. That's the hope, that she will be found one day. I hope it's while I'm still alive, and as I get older, there's an urgency about it. How much time have I got left to find her? As you're racing through the years, you wonder, is time running out? Common sense tells you it's 99.9% likely that she is dead. I don't think she's been kidnapped and taken on a boat overseas, which was the kind of nonsense some people suggested in the early days. But there's no proof she's dead. None whatsoever. She is lost, and she's still lost after 33 years. What fate met Kirsa that day in September 1983 remains a mystery. If she had fallen from her horse, did anyone take her to a hospital? Was she abducted by someone who offered to help her, but they had ulterior motives? Was she murdered by her abductor? Did she perhaps become disorientated due to concussion and in her confusion collapse somewhere? Kirsa's family are still desperately searching for answers after almost 40 years. Police have never been able to progress in this case due to lack of clues, but the case remains open. It was as if Jensen went up in smoke, as no trace of her was left behind. The teen's disappearance is one of the longest-running unsolved missing persons cases in New Zealand, but despite the time that has passed, the Jensens have never given up hope that one day Kirsa will be found.